Hello class, so today what we're doing is we're going over the lyrics test. This is a random student's code. I called it hacks. But anyways, so first thing you want to know is the difference between documentation code and normal commenting. And of course, single line commenting. Documentation is usually used before functions. This is just to comment bulk lines. There's no real purpose for this other than to comment out multiple lines, and this is usually used to comment at the end of a single line. Or, for example, if you wanted to comment right here, you could just do that if it's just one line. If it's more than one line, you would comment like this. And documentation usually has a pre, post, and summary. And sometimes you document your code. The ideal spot, I just found out, is actually below your imports. Actually, it's below your public class and right here, because now when I compile and run it, this is actually pretty cool. When I run it now, I can actually read those comments right here, which this is required in the character program. So please be aware of that. Does everyone see how my pre, post, and summary? That's because it's right above the public main, right here. And it's called documentation coding because it's commenting on the public main. So if I were to put comments below a different function down here, it would also do the same thing if I were to call those functions. So the import statements, you do not need to know. I'm not grading you on that because they're just copy-paste. You see them once and you never do them again. You should know that it's public class and then the program name. You should by now know there's public static void main string args. You will need to know that on the AP, so I'll slowly start to incorporate that into the grading scheme. This is a buffered reader object which reads the file. You need to know the difference between read and write. You also need to know which one goes in which. Does buffered reader go inside writer, or does writer go inside reader? To figure this out, what we see is this is the reader and the writer is inside. So what that means is, weirdly enough, you declare the reader and you put the writer inside. So the writer is inside the reader because you write after you read. So up here we have a try catches. I'm not testing you on. Don't worry about that. I will test you on input. What that means is if I were to say, give me a conditional stating to do numbers 1 through 8 and only 1 through 8, you would need to be able to write this line of code with the while or the do while. Actually, yeah, that right there is what I need to see. The next one is you need to know how to declare a string. You should know that file, buffered writer, buffered file writer, and all the different objects, scanner. You should know that they are objects. You should know how they work and everything. You don't need to know how to declare them, but that I don't think it is. Never mind. You don't need to know about this. You do need to know this while statement. But it's pretty common sense. I won't ask you to rewrite it. You should just know what it looks like. This switch case is definitely going to be on the test. That's the main concept here. You need to know bw.write compared to system.println. The next one is you should know what break does. What break does is it stops case 1. So if I were to delete this, if I were to say case 1, it would do this and case 2 because then it hits the break. If I say case 2, it'll only do this. Please realize that bw.write sometimes needs a typecaster of a double quote plus. What this does is it typecasts this value into a string so it can be written to the file as a string. With these functions, this is the other big part of the test. You need to know what the return type means. The return type means this value right here gets turned into a string. You need to know what the parameters are and how those operate. You don't need to know them about specific functions, but you do need to know these are the parameters. The return type is what gets replaced. This is the object, and this is the function or method. In this case, this would be a method because it operates on an object. You don't need to know function versus method. You do need to know what this new line does. You also need to know what the line of code that this person didn't put in. On School Fusion, I noted that there is this new line code is that we needed, so this line of code, right, this scanner.next line, open close parenthesis, it throws away the /n that's not consumed by next int. This line right here, you need to know why you use it and what it does, and that if you just keep on doing next int, next int, next int, you're never getting the /n, the n character that's not consumed by the next int. Which that means is next int just gets the next int. It doesn't take the new line character. You have to handle that new line character in some way by using this scanner.next line. It just eats that, and then you can get the x value. Otherwise, what happens is inside this loop, after a while, it will break if there was a next line in here. So if I were to take this and say string x equals this dot next line, this would just always be the new line character, and string y would then be the actual next line of input. So you should know that. And you should also remember how I showed you that one worksheet with the functions, methods and functions test review document. This is also on the test because it literally says review test, test review. And, oh, that's the lyrics test. I gotta delete that. So in this here, what we have is ABCD. It's going to be the same setup on the test. You're going to have A is the method name. The method name would be golden ticket, strawberries, break my glasses, haha, noob. What is the return type? Would be void means no return type, int, string, or fencing. That means it returns an object of type fencing. The how many parameters, which means there are 2 parameters of type int and string. There are no parameters. There are 2 parameters, int and boolean, so on and so forth. And then write the method call. What it look like is this right here, where you take the method name, insert in values for the parameters, and because of the return type void, I don't have to set it equals to. So down here, I would say int for number 2, I'd have to say int x equals golden ticket, because this returns an integer, so I have to handle that integer by assigning it to somewhere. The other way I can do this is a system.out.print line of golden ticket, and I should also typecast that as a string just in case. Not that I need to, but it doesn't hurt. Those are the 2 different ways. You can do this several different ways, but those are the 2 main ways that you would use this. There's a returns an int. If it returns a string, you wouldn't need this, but you need to change this into a string, so on and so forth. You need to know this. I would look back at it and check it out. And I think that's it. So good luck on the test. Wish you the best, and don't worry, there's always a retake, and I will see you later. I think that's it.